Yo, boys, what's good? So, as I'm going on this journey, I'm realizing more and more that sacrifice does not get any easier, bro. Like, when you think about the concepts of self improvement, right? Holistic self improvement and instant gratification and delayed gratification, you gotta think about okay, look, if I'm in a shitty situation right now or a really, really terrible schedule, first, what I gotta do in that schedule is rip apart the entire schedule and specifically the bits of it that aren't serving me. So, all of the bad habits. Not only do you have to scrap those off, right, which is all in respect with time, you then, on top of that, are left with, if you scrap all of that off, you're left with a bunch of free time now. Okay? So now, on top of that, you have to add in things that would make you more productive. And, on a small scale, that seems kind of easy, right? Like, not as in practically doing, but like just thinking about it as like a Google Calendar, right? You just, scrap off all the bad habits. This is when I do this bad habit, this is when I do that bad habit. And then you just, rephrase it and instead of video game time you do gym time, sick, I go to gym. But like actually doing that is incredibly difficult, and for some it'll be more difficult than others. Like for example, for me, going to the gym is not that much of a hassle compared to most other people. It's because I've disciplined myself in that. But I've talked about previously, there's levels to discipline, so there's a whole nother level of discipline that I can still achieve in the gym. But anyway, right, I've talked about that. But for me, it's harder to do some of my deep work. Okay, so you know, it, it's just very very difficult when you practically think about it. Though it's like you're scrapping off all these things that you've basically habituated yourself to, and then you're telling yourself you're gonna do a whole nother thing replace that thing that, and you're probably not going to enjoy that new thing that is good for you, but you're not going to enjoy that much. Therefore, if you overload too hard, you might end up actually quitting, right? So if you reframe your entire schedule, you might actually end up quitting. So you kind of have to be careful how it is you sacrifice. I think you have to be kind of tactical about it, because thing about sacrifice is like a lot of us can sacrifice very very low end habits, which I call some of the I don't know what I call them, but basically it's like the habits that you can quit easily, right? All of us have those, so it's going to be different for other people. Some people, junk food is going to be easy to quit. Some people it's not. Some people porn is going to be easy to quit. Some people prawns is not going to be easy to quit. Some people is going to be easy to start going to the gym. Some people it's not going to be easy to go to the gym. Some people it's going to be easy to quit video games. Some people it's not going to be. I could go on and on, but you get the point. So you start sacrificing all those like habits that are very very easy for you to sacrifice. You're like, yeah, I don't really need to do that, and I don't really care to. I just kind of do it in my free time and boredom. Work on sacrificing those first, and then replacing that time with something else. Okay, because what I've learned is if you completely do a whole schedule overhaul with anything that you do, when it comes to diet, when it comes to progressive overload, you will almost guaranteed fail, because unless you have some severe motivation that like your magnitude of wanting to do the good habits is way greater than wanting to do the bad habits, then you won't be able to pull this off very easily. You need to progressively deload on the bad habits and progressively overload on the good habits. And I think that's a really, really healthy way of doing it, because that is what makes it sustainable. And then you'll get to a point, bro, where you've sacrificed the bad habits that are very, very easy for you to sacrifice, and then you've replaced a lot of your time with good stuff. Fine, cool, good job, great. But then you get to the main sacrifice, and this is like the habit that is like the hardest to quit. And the reason I think this habit kind of latches onto you is because you've given up all the mini habits. The mini habits were also like an out for you, even though there were many bad habits, right? They were kind of an out for you in some way. So what ends up happening is like and this is of course speculation on my end, but like what ends up happening is if you start replacing all those mini bad habits, um, all of those tendencies will manifest in like your main big bad habit that you do, and you'll just start going ham on that shit like crazy. Whether it's like, I don't know, PMO, whether it's like junk food, whether it's like binge eating, like video games, whatever it is, you'll start going crazy on that bad habit. So it is very important for you to be able to find that balance, and it's going to be different for everybody on how you should properly sacrifice at one point in time, and then like progressively overload on another thing. So let's say you sacrifice like, I don't know, one bad habit and you replace it with one good habit. Like that is progress. Like I don't care what anybody says, that is progress. Your goal is to be able to make progress, and the way you do that is by maintaining and keeping consistent, right? So if you can't keep consistent, what's the point? If you meditate for one day like 10 hours, but then you can't do that like for the rest of the year compared to the guy who's doing 5 minutes every day, it's like it doesn't really like matter, because this guy's working at it every single day. So you need to be able to manage that very well. So take out your bad habits slowly, and then slowly start converting them into good habits. Okay, I think that's the way to go, because then you progressively overload way too much at once, and you'll constantly see you'll constantly see yourself going back and forth and struggling. And that is exactly what happened to me. I would go overhaul on good habits because I was so desperate to get out of the situation I was in. And what ended up happening was like I would rubber band between the bad habits and the good habits so much so that it like affected my mood. My mood would swing like crazy as a result. Now, of course, I'm not like I don't want to push this so far as for people to believe I had like a mental illness or something, but like I'm just saying my moods were swinging like crazy because I was like fluctuating between these bad and good habits, and that would cause a lot of like lack of consistency within the good habits, which means that my mental health wasn't there, my physique wasn't there, and things like that, and it was just like not good. So be smart about the way you do this. I don't think hustle culture is a good way to go about it, but nor do I think you need to take this lightly. You need to stay consistent, okay? I think that's the best way, but yeah, sacrifice never gets easier, my friend. It never will. So you've got to remember, the only way you get through sacrifice is if you're willing to sacrifice the thing you love the most. And that is going to be the big bad habit that accumulates like, you know, all the desire and stuff, because you sacrificed all the mini bad habits and things like that. So you got to be ready to fight that. It's like a raid boss, bro. You got to get ready to fight that with everything you got, because it's going to happen. And you're not going to want to sacrifice it because it feels like your only way out. For me, and these could be multiple habits at different times. This could be PMO. That was one for me for a big time. That it could be, you know, it could be video games. That was also one big time. It could be different raid bosses too. You know, when we play video games, we have different kinds of bosses all the time. So like, depending on what habits you sacrifice, another one will manifest itself like crazy. So you just got to be prepared for that, and you got to be prepared to sacrifice it and be like, look, this is the hurdle I must get through if I really want to, you know, become successful. Because it's going to be the thing you love the most that you want to sacrifice the least, but it's also the thing that you know you should sacrifice to get the most progress possible. Okay, so that's just the way it is. But yeah, that's pretty much all I got for y'all. Peace. Take it easy.